Hello, welcome back to another SwansCast match preview ahead of Swansea City's home match against Derby County, which is tomorrow as of recording. It will be on the 25th of November. I forgot what month we were in then for a second. And I'm joined by Chris from the RamsTalk Podcast to join me to talk all about Derby County. So welcome in, Chris. Nice to have you. Nice to meet you. First time on the channel. So yeah, you're going to tell us all about Derby. But where can we find yourself and anything you put online and the RamsTalk Podcast if we want to go and check out more about Derby County?
Yep. So the RamsTalk Podcast, we're a group of passionate Derby County supporters that all contribute to the pod. We're there on all of the major platforms, as you would expect, but I'm sure it's pretty much listened to only Derby County supporters. We don't have, I suspect, any listeners other than people keen to find out about the team pre-match. But yes, we're all there, and we've been going for a number of years. And yeah, thanks very much indeed, Luke, for having us on, and looking forward to the game tomorrow.
No problem. It was my pleasure. And yeah, you're more than welcome. It's more help for us and to learn about Derby County from a Swansea perspective. And a lot has been going on at Swansea lately. So my apologies for not having a preview for the last game for those listening, the Bristol City game. Didn't manage to get one in. I mean, to be fair, it's a bit up in the air. We had a temporary interim manager for that game. I don't know if you're aware. Didn't go too well. We've since employed a full-time coach in Victor Matos, who's been announced today. And the guy who led the team at Bristol has been relieved of his duties. So I think we all knew that was going to happen. But then how do you get the team up against for any game when he probably knew he was coming as well? So it's one of those kind of like really couldn't judge the situation. I think don't know what to expect going forward. So if you've got any questions for me, probably not going to be the most helpful at this stage, but hopefully you can tell us all about Derby County. So let's go back to last season before we look at this game. Obviously, came back up from League One, and I just want to talk about like what were your expectations going into the season, and how did the season pan out as a result? Then going into this season, then we'll talk about how that's changed in your second year.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, last season, we came up. I think we had no other aim or expectation other than trying to finish fourth from bottom and survive. And, we came in with a pretty weak squad. I mean, it's hard, it's not easy for a side or a club like ours that, just a couple of seasons before we're in administration, so we went through exactly what Sheffield Wednesday are going through right now. We came up with pretty much no budget whatsoever. We begged, borrowed, and steal players and put a squad together. We had a pretty good start last season. I think, they usually do from the newly promoted teams. We've seen that this season with the likes of Charlton doing reasonably well and so forth. But then, we just ran out of steam mid-season under Paul Warne, who was then coming under quite a bit of flack from the fan base. The quality of football wasn't the best. We went on a really bad run around December, January. Things came to a head. Warne lost his job. I think it was pretty much untenable. We were in the bottom three. And then along comes John Eustace, who, ex Derby County, of course. We poached him off Blackburn, which, left a little bit of a bitter taste, I think, in their mouths. And, I think Eustace came in, tried to play football, realised that with the squad that he had, that it just wasn't going to happen. So it was pretty attritional type stuff. It was gritty football, well organised, back five, just try and nick a result as best you can. And we stayed up by the skin of our teeth. Literally, last day of the season, we played out a phony war with Stoke so they could also stay up 0-0. And we survived. Coming into this season, a little bit more investment in the squad. A little bit more revenue, which you'd expect back in the Championship. We've managed to sign some reasonably good players. I think some of the old League One squad have been shipped on, and I think expectations were quite high. But in typical Derby County fashion, we always seem to have a very, very long injury list. And, we were signing players who weren't fit. We had players from last season that were still on the operating table. So we got off to a really slow start. And this season, things sort of came to a head. It was Oxford away, sort of early October time. It was a dire away performance. We lost 1-0. I think the manager and the fans got quite a bit of stick, and some of it perhaps a little bit undeserved. But but we then turned a corner. We played Norwich, who were also, as you know, well down the bottom, and we've been on this 5-game winning streak from nowhere. We went back to a back five, and Eustace was kind of chopping and changing the formation. Went to a back five. We got Sondre Langas back, who was our best centre half, and suddenly everything clicked. Carlton Morris, who I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute, was banging the goals in. And up until last Saturday, it was 5 wins out of 5 and comfortably in mid-table, until Watford came along, of course, and turned over a 2-0 lead and, brought back down to earth with a 3-2 defeat. But overall, I think we would happily settle for a place in mid-table this season. That would be very comfortable. But as you know, this league's so unpredictable. So I'd hate to predict where we're going to finish.
Yeah, the John Eustace move did cause a bit of a ripple down the championship, I think. Obviously, the links between the club and himself were the obvious reason for that. But I think when he left Blackburn, they were doing quite well. Were they not in the playoffs at the time that he left them? Or near
They were right up there. Yeah, they were. And no one could really understand it. But I think there was a dispute over the amount of investment he was going to get in the squad. That was one of the reasons. And I think he just wanted to come. His passion was to come and move to Derby, and he kind of believed in the project, despite the fact that, we didn't have an awful lot of money and he was taking over a side in the bottom 3. So fair play to him. So, right now he's got the fan base well and truly behind him. That little kind of noise that was created in the early autumn seems to be, long gone, fortunately.
Yeah, he's a manager we've been linked to in the past as well. So, interesting to see how we fare against him. Perhaps now we're a little bit more established at Derby. Okay, so moving on then. You mentioned some of the players that perhaps made an impact this season, Carlton Morris being one of them. What are the notable signings and who's been the key impacts this season so far? Obviously, I know you'll start with him, but who else as well?
Well, I mean, Carlton Morris is a very topical one because fortunately for you guys, you won't have to face him tomorrow. So he came off about 15 minutes into the game against Watford. It's one of those bad, innocuous ones where the player just goes down and didn't come back on. So literally just hot off the press, we've just found out that it sounds like it's not his ACL that he's done, but bizarrely, it's not even his knee at all. It sounds like his ankle. So whether it's ligament damage or whatever, we don't know. But he's going to be out for quite a significant period of time. And he was by far and away our best signing of the summer. He was only £1 million, an absolute bargain from Luton. And one of those players you sign where you think, goodness, he's actually a much better player than you give him credit for. So Carlton Morris will be missing, which is a massive blow for us because he's the real source of goals for Derby. There isn't much else to talk about in terms of goal scoring other than our defenders. I mean, in terms of the players to look out for, I mean, Eustace's side is built on the defence. It's built on a solid back five, being very well organised. The goalkeeper, Jakob Vidal Zetterstrom, is a player that is very highly thought of in goal. Very good shot stopper. Brentford were looking at him in the close season, but fortunately he stayed. So he's well worth keeping an eye on. I think at the back, we've got 3 very experienced centre halves. I think Dion Sanderson that we've got on loan from Birmingham, he's suspended, I think. So, but Sondre Langas, we signed him back in January. He's just back from a knee injury himself. It's made a massive difference. So I expect him to play proper old school sort of badass defender. And Matt Clark, who's been around the league for donkey's years, he's in his second spell with us. Clark will play as well. So a lot of no-nonsense defending there. I think the other player to perhaps watch out for, the other source of creativity, is we've got a right wing back, Joe Ward, who nearly left us in the summer, but most of our goals come from crosses, either set pieces or crosses. And Ward is the one down the right-hand side that has got a good whip on the ball, so he'll be the source of creativity in terms of whipping the balls in. But you won't see an awful lot of stylistic play from Derby. It will be very tight, and it will be based on nicking something from a set piece. So don't expect a classic tomorrow night.
I mean, I think set piece defending and defending crosses is not one of our strengths, or hasn't been so far this season, and we don't think we've even scored. Sorry, what was that?
I don't know. I'll make a note of that, and
Oh
we'll
yeah,
send it on
yeah.
to
Pass it
John
on.
Eustace.
I'm sure they're fully aware. They're probably looking to exploit that already.
Mm.
I don't know, I think we're the only team in the league not to score one as well. So,
Really?
both ends of the pitch, set pieces has not been our strength this year. Um,
Mm.
but looking at your formation, then are you still expecting to play a 3 centre back system?
Yeah,
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 and what would
100%,
the
100%.
rest
I
of
mean,
that
that
look
was
like?
that was the formation that Eustace started with and kept us up. Sort of a 5-5-3-2 last season. It has changed a bit this season. He tried to go 4-2-3-1, but it didn't work at the start of the season. It'll be a back five. It'll be Langas. I expect Craig Forsyth to come in instead of Sanderson. Forsyth must be about 36, 37 now. So you want to put anyone quick up against him, and you'll get a good return with Clark. And then it'll be 2 wing backs, Ward on the right, probably Callum Elder on the left. We'll have 2 in the centre of midfield. We're way short of midfielders. Our best 2 central midfielders are Lewis Travis, who we signed from Blackburn, but he's out injured, and David Ozo, who's a cracking player, really talented, was on loan from Crystal Palace. He's also injured. There's a bit of a trend here, so it'll be Ebu Adams, who just runs around the pitch kicking people. He's played for Cardiff, so I'm sure he'll get a warm welcome at your place, and Lee Clark, who's on loan from Salzburg. So that'll be the central midfield, and then I fully expect the front 3 will be Brereton Diaz, who of course has been around the division for donkey's years, Blackburn and Southampton. And then Patrick Agyeman, he's probably another player keeping an eye on. You can't miss him. He's about 6'7". We signed him in the summer from the MLS for big money for us. I mean, he was a huge signing, 5 million. We don't normally spend that sort of money, so took a huge gamble on Patrick Agyeman. He's very tall, very unorthodox, but very quick. So I expect Agyeman to start, and then after that, it's a bit unknown. Maybe Vyman might start. He's a Eustace favourite from obviously ex-Blackburn. So he may start, or we might start with Lars Jorgen Salverson, who's kind of Carlton Morris's backup centre forward. But that will largely be, you can pretty much predict about 90% of the team for tomorrow, simply because we haven't got anybody else.
Yeah, I completely forgot you had Ben Brereton Diaz. He hasn't been in the goals as much as previous years in his football career, I think. But I'd imagine he's still quite a threat. Another player you've got on your ranks, that's one for us to watch out for, is Ryan Brewster. Are we likely to see any of him, or is he injured as well?
Yeah, got it in one. He's injured again. Yeah. I mean, Ryan's not really got going for us. We signed him.
I think he didn't really for Sheffield either, to be fair.
Yes, he didn't, and we took a gamble on him. We got him for nothing. We brought him in, and he came in. He looked really good. Scored a great goal against Ipswich back in the sort of September. And then he was missing at the weekend. Whether he's back for tomorrow, I'm not sure. I mean, if he is, the kind of the school of thought is that he really should be starting, given how good a player he is. But Eustace likes Brereton Diaz, who obviously he trusts, and Brereton Diaz is very inconsistent. He'll either whip one in the top corner like he did against Wrexham, or he'll be totally anonymous. So, but Brereton Diaz will start for absolute sure. Brewster, if he's even available, will be on the bench.
Probably good news for us, the whole former player scoring against your team. It seems to come back to haunt us quite a lot. So yeah, I guess it'd be good news if he's not playing tomorrow. I do like to ask then, if I flip the question of key players back at you, are there any players you know of from the Swansea City squad that you would like to take to add to your own team?
Well, I mean, I remember I was just looking. I mean, the centre forward you had, is it Vipotnik? Yeah. I mean, I remember him last season when you came to our place. That was a midweek game, I seem to recall, and I think from memory, you beat us. It was at least 2-0. It might have been 2-1. I can remember you going 2-0 up within about 15 minutes.
And then you battered us for the rest of the game, didn't you?
Well, I don't know about batter us, but we launched a lot of balls into the box. That was kind of under the days of Paul Warne. I mean, those are the days there when you had Matt Grimes paying for you, who, I always just thought a marvelous player. Someone like a centre forward like that. I mean, that's what we really need now, because if Morris is going to be out for a long period of time, I think the view from our side is no one really knows how good Salverson is if he plays. You'll recognise Salverson because he's sort of a Haaland type haircut. Sadly, he doesn't quite have the ability, but the jury is out there as to how effective he's going to be. So a seasoned championship centre forward is probably what we need right now.
It's Vipotnik's second season with us, and he's really coming into his own this year. However, I don't know who is going to start come tomorrow. He didn't start on the weekend under the caretaker, so honestly, I can't. It's either going to be him or Ida will start, and if there's a bit of rotation, maybe it will be Vipotnik. He is the top goal scorer this season, so if the new manager's just looking at the performance so far, because I guess he wouldn't have had a lot of time to judge from training, but we'll have to wait and see. So I can't even tell you what formation.
Do you have any kind of view as the sort of style of play you're going to have under Matos, or is it still quite unknown?
I think yet? They want it to be passing, attractive, attacking stuff, but I think he did that sort of thing when he was at his previous club. He's only managed 12 games of top flight. Well, not top flight of senior professional football as a first team coach or like manager. So quite early on in his managerial career, he's coming to us. It's really hard to form any sort of opinion because I think he did a good job where he came from in Portugal, but 12 game sample, so hard to really judge because maybe he didn't have a period where it got tricky, and can't see how he responds to that or any of those things. You got to trust the board and what.
Is he ex-Liverpool?
Yeah, he was with Klopp at Liverpool.
Yeah,
so he's got that sort of experience. I think that's where a lot of his plaudits come from, and obviously the good words that has been said about him. I'm sure he is going to be a top coach. It's just championships are hard graft in it.
It is hard graft.
It's your first proper job if it's longer than a 12 game spell somewhere, like first proper difficult job. So he's not coming into the best circumstances with our league position. I think the expectation that we had for our team this season was a lot better than where we are currently sitting in the table, especially with the money that was spent in the summer. I think the quality of the players we do have is definitely better than where we are in the table.
I think there's a lot of teams like that, isn't there? I mean,
I
always associate
someone's got to go, haven't they?
Yeah.
Well, sorry, I interrupted you then.
I was just going to say, I always associate you guys with pass and move football. I mean, obviously you had in the Russell Martin days, arguably there was perhaps too much of that, but, sideways and backwards. But, that's how I always associate Swansea. So, and I remember I was speaking to, we had Southampton a while back, and they'd just played you. And we were chatting to some of their supporters, and they were talking about the football under Alan Sheehan, because they'd been obviously speaking to you, to Swansea supporters. And he changed the style of play, I understood, with you guys. He was quite direct. Sheehan, and that's real. That's not what I say.
No, and that's
Swansea,
that's what the fan base hasn't liked necessarily. So I think whatever the new manager does bring, they would have gone to get somebody that is going to go back more in line with maybe what you expect. I'm sure there'll be his own stamp on it. Personally, do think it needs to be a little bit different from just pass and move football like what we've shown in the past. Perhaps I think the natural football landscape evolves, and we need to evolve what we call the Swansea way with that. So I think there's a foundation there, but we need to tweak it to what works in modern football, basically, and finding the right manager to do that is the challenge ultimately, and we haven't managed to do that yet. So you're right, the way you said about Russell Martin probably was one extreme. It's probably got to be someone a bit like less extreme than him, but more, I don't know what the word is, the execution needs to be a bit better. I do think there's a merit for more directness than perhaps 10 years ago. I think the way the football is these days, that seems to be where a lot of goals are scored, when players broken up and lost, and how quick can you then break and attack on the back of that? As soon as the ball gets recycled, a lot of teams are back in shape and a lot fitter these days to defend. So, we'll see what happens. But I sorry I can't give you more information what to expect, because really couldn't tell you. We really don't know that much about him. So
well, I mean, I can tell you exactly what to expect from Derby. I mean, if you look at our match stats, we've not, I think only once, maybe twice, we've been over the 40% mark in terms of possession all season. So we definitely like to sit back, low block, get everyone behind the ball, and then work our way up the pitch in a kind of very direct fashion and get the cross into the box. So, even if we weren't playing, with your new manager who perhaps might want to play a little bit more possession football, I'd still suspect you to have at least 60% of possession tomorrow.
Yeah, and even
We
under
will definitely
Sheehan,
like to feed the ball. We don't like playing through the middle. Not without David Ozo and Lewis Travis, certainly.
Yeah. No, I mean, even with Sheehan, we were still, I think, top 4 or 5 in the league for possessions, even though, there's a noticeable view that maybe he changed the way Swansea play, even from, if you're talking to Southampton fans, like we're still near the top when it comes to keeping the ball. It's just they weren't doing anything with it. Considering you mentioned the directness, we're like bottom of the league for XG, so like that directness wasn't paying off.
No.
I don't know. He's gone now, anyways. That's over. But
I hope it goes well for him, just not tomorrow.
It's going to be a long process. I think it would be a little bit of a baptism of fire against a Derby team, especially with a low block, because that's where you're going to have to start learning how to break down, isn't it? If that's the way you want to play. So,
yeah,
definitely. But anyway, thank you very much. Can I push you for a match prediction ahead of this one?
Well, I have to say I don't want to. I mean, I can't make the game tomorrow because I'll be at work, so I should watch it on the TV. I'm not going to have the 4-hour journey down, but
I don't blame you.
For the Derby, we should probably send about 1,000 or so supporters down. It would be a good turnout tomorrow from the away end. So well done to the lads there. But I would suspect it's going to be quite a tight match. I'm going for a 0-0. I'd take a 0-0 right now, given our lack of goals, goal power in the team. Maybe we might sneak one from a set piece. So maybe positively speaking, a Derby goal from the corner. Normally in the last 5 minutes is how we do it. So I'm going down that road of a tight one, not a goal fest.
No, I kind of agree. We do predictions as part of the podcast, and we did it in a WhatsApp group earlier, and I put 0-0 as my prediction, and then they announced the new manager, and in my excitement, I changed it to a Swansea win. I don't really think we're going to win. I just got carried away a little bit by the fact that there was the announcement. I was like, maybe they'll get some in now, the bounce and all the rest of it. But I think 0-0 is probably a realistic bet, if I'm honest. I'm being very positive, like thinking with your heart when I say Swans win. I don't know if I really think that we're going to get a win tomorrow based on current situation, and it's hard to sort of base that on anything, isn't it? So we'll see. I think a point would be good though, because it means you didn't start off with a loss, isn't it? Ultimately,
absolutely.
So we'll definitely take a point.
We take a point now, given where our injury list. So let's see.
For any travelling Derby fans that might listen, I'm sure the sat-navs will tell you exactly where to go on your way down if you are driving. I would highly recommend, though, if it does give you the option, not to come down the M4, because you might be setting off when it's okay, but when you get to the M4, it might not be okay. So that's just my advice if you are setting off. There's another road, it's called Heads of the Valleys Road. It comes,
I know it.
You'd probably drive to like Monmouth and then come off.
I know the Heads of the Valley. Yes,
that sort of area. It's been finished. It's finished now. It got finished, I think, earlier this year or last year. And it's a very pleasant drive, to be fair. And it's a lot less busy and there's a lot less accidents. So this time of year, M4, nearly every other day, there's an accident causing a bit of traffic. So if you're setting off, say, 2:00, might look all right on a sat-nav. By the time you get there, it might not be. So that's just my advice anyway. So,
no, thank you for that. I'll let people know on our little group chat for the rest of the community. So if they're going that way. So good advice.
And one last question before I let you go. And you just mentioned you knew the road I was talking about, so maybe you'll have a good answer to this one. I like to ask a non-football related question to end the video. And that is, can you name a place in Wales that you would like to visit, or if you've been somewhere that you really enjoyed, you can tell us about that as well. Just anywhere in Wales that if you could.
I know Wales very, very well. One of my best buddies lives in Wales. So the Heads of the Valley Road. Yeah, he lives down just west of Abergavenny, there on the edge of the Brecon Beacons. And he looks out onto the mountain, the Sugarloaf Mountain. So if you know that part of the way, but obviously not far from
too far away from you.
Yeah, Penavan and all around there. So lovely part of the world. So know that area very, very well. So I've not been down to see it. We're not visited for a while, but yes, we shall get back that way probably over Christmas. So so all round there, we know that area. So lovely part of the world.
Very good walk-up pen event, but maybe not this time of year in this weather. Well, I mean, if it depends what you enjoy, isn't it? But very cold, I would imagine it will be.
Oh
if you're
yeah,
going up there
very
now.
busy as well nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's always queuing at the top for a photo.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you very much, Chris, for coming on and telling us all about Derby. Good luck for the rest of the season after tomorrow, of course. And maybe I'll chat to you or one of the other guys as part of the RamsTalk podcast later in the season when we meet for the reverse fixture. So yeah, been great having you on, and good luck.
Like, all the best, Luke, and hopefully enjoy the game.
Yeah, hopefully. Thank you.